Yes, that's the intro. That's the intro. Carlo laughing at the juxtaposition of.
Are we live?
Oh, we're
We're
live.
live. We're
Yeah.
live.
No,
Yes.
yeah. So
Where's your
now
suit?
he knows.
Do you not own a suit? What's up with you?
I was wearing a suit on Friday. Last Friday, I own a suit. Get out of here.
Nice.
Hey, buddy. Welcome
What's
to Covers
up?
His Puck Props. 14 years. 14 years. NHL grinder Carlo Colaiacovo. Presented by Sports Interaction. Couple of 1983s, bud. Just talking hockey. Adams Digest.
We got off to a rough start. Global Series doesn't really count.
What a scam series. What a scam series.
Scam series, yeah.
Carlos Pizza Sniffs. Carlos Pizzeria. There he is.
Shout out to Andy, our boy.
Yeah, absolute. He called it. He didn't touch the Global Series. He's like, it's a scam. He was right. He was right. He really was. Yeah, I don't know. But we're back. Yesterday, what'd you take away from yesterday's game?
Well, considering how the first game started with the plays that we had both talked about with McCann and Neighbors, you've got to tread carefully early on in the season here, because what we think we may know about the lines and the player usage and stuff like that, I was caught off guard yesterday. How Jake Neighbors wasn't factored in on the top line PP, and how Jared McCann wasn't on the top line PP, wasn't even on 6-on-5. So I guess there's a lot of experimenting going on with different players and stuff like that. So we're going to suggest some players based on what we think is going to happen, but tread lightly early on. Let's let things settle. Yes, Adam, of course, in the next two games. And I think you're going to see that throughout at least the first week, where defense is going to be optional. You're going to see a lot of loose play that's happening here, because a lot of these guys haven't played meaningful preseason games, right? So,
but loose play can also mean sloppy offensive play where guys aren't getting.
Yes.
I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what loose means, right? Does that factor in offense? Does it factor in the other way? I think at the end of the day, it just means that there's more variance in both outcomes. It can be sloppy as hell offensively, or it can be sloppy as hell defensively. So, tread lightly. I really didn't think we'd see a 4-1 first period after a banner race where people were like, "Oh, it's going to be slow, and out of the gun,
bang." Yes. Well, how about this Seattle game? 0 goals in the first, 5 in the second,
nothing.
0 in the third.
Not even the empty net.
If you're on that over, how about the Buchnevich wraparound on an empty net that he threw wide instead of tucking it in?
Oh, no, lots of people lost money on that. How about before I went to bed, I'm like, I'll take a little shot on this over 6 in Utah.
Hey, 2 goals late.
I look in there. I'm like, oh, wow, 5-2. That was easy. I look back. I see 2 goals in the final minute.
Final 30 seconds.
Non-empty net goal. You're like, oh, wow, we'll take that one. The offense did look lost, obviously. But, I mean, Tuevo playing with Bedard for whatever. He was even money for a point is kind of silly in that spot. And that's kind of our angles in today. So we'll go through each game quickly. Toronto, Montreal plus 150, over under sitting at 6.5. There's not a lot of moving pieces with these teams, and it's kind of hard to find value. You're going to have the same guys on PP1. You're going to have the same top line guys. Don't be tempted to take Knies for a point at like plus 115. It's probably, I don't know, at the 5-on-5 time. I don't think it's been profitable. It wasn't profitable last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the sneaky stuff is, and like, I'm not doing anything until I see Lane Hudson jump up to PP1, and then I'm excited because he has no assist markets. He's plus 575 for a power play point, which is tempting, but unless he moves up and takes nice
math. You're better off hitting the point, because he
doesn't have a point market.
Okay, then maybe, then you're the thing is that like he's going to get more 5-on-5 time than he is power play time. But again, in saying that, Montreal finished the preseason 0 for 28 on the power play. Like, that's what their record was on the PP during the whole preseason, 0 for 28. So I would stay away from power play points right now on the Montreal player side.
AB saying Tuevo not getting that assist with shambles. Not getting a Tuevo assist last night probably cost me $700.
Oh, jeez, you just hate that.
Yeah, I don't know, but there are. I mean, the assist market is something I'm really starting to like the Rob Thomas one there. Elias Lindholm in Boston playing next to Pasternak. Guys playing with shoot first people like Tuevo
Yeah.
and Bedard. So, ba, 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 ba. Oh, let's see. I always know I can read Bobby Newport's message without having to fact check it here. NFL after being away from the sport for 15 years. The big question I posed to the chat is, who should my team be as I'm getting back into hockey?
Utah. Go with the
Boom.
Utah HC.
Drinking out of boots, drinking out of shoes last night.
If you're getting into a new team, might as well be with the new team that's into the league this year. Go with Utah.
Yeah, it was. And like I love that top line. I love the Hatton, Keller, Schmaltz line. It was big last year. And then if Gunther can makes a big step up, there was a lot to like in that. I don't like much in this Toronto game. I really don't. Montreal plays in Boston tomorrow. Toronto heads to New Jersey on Thursday. Obviously, the boys will be locked in for Leafs, Habs in Montreal. It's going to be big, but there's nothing I like. I don't want to lay the juice. If anything, Montreal as a dog probably looks a little appetizing at plus 150. But have you heard anything else outside of that Elliot Friedman tweet saying that goalie Dennis Hildeby would be heading to Montreal?
No, I haven't heard. I've had some follow-ups. I'm waiting to hear back, and I would imagine we probably won't hear anything till about 11:30, which is when the Maple Leafs are supposed to take the ice for pregame skate. Look, there's a lot of things that could play into factor here. I hope it's not injury related, but it could be illness related. It could be just you're bringing the guy on a 2-game road trip where if your Wall is going to play the full game tonight, you don't want him backing up tomorrow and having to get into a game in case something goes bad. So it could just be, prevention, or at least looking ahead. Or maybe some people speculated that Stolarz isn't even in Montreal because they've already sent him to New Jersey because they want him to be ready for that game in his hometown. So I don't know. There's a lot to digest here. Like I said, I don't want to speculate right now, but there's many things that could be the reason as to why Hildeby could be making his way to Montreal to be with the Leafs.
I've never heard that. I think that's really cool. You send the goalie by himself to the second game on the back-to-back on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you would normally hear teams do later in the season or into playoffs.
Not game one.
But not game one of the season. I mean, if you're Stolarz, you
want to be with the boys.
No, I want to be with the boys. Game one. Like I'll suck it up. But maybe, there's something that was lingering going into today and they just brought him in because of precaution. If it's not injury related, I would think it's more preparing for tomorrow, where if Wall plays the full game today, they don't want him even dressing tomorrow. That's this on the safe side is the way I would look at it.
I don't really see, like, let's say Wall's out and Stolarz jumps in. Let's just go through that one. I don't see this line moving a ton at plus 150 right now. Obviously, if it's an issue, if Hildeby somehow has to make the start, obviously that's probably the least likely outcome. Obviously, it's going to move the money line, but it's a pass. Everything's a pass for me. Plus 150 is big for the dogs at home, like a home dog.
Especially the first game of the season, right? I mean,
100%.
Like first game of the season is probably where you're going to see the best version of any team play because a lot of guys are excited. They're playing meaningful hockey now, right? Guys are going to be playing with energy, adrenaline, the feed off the crowd, and Montreal's a rocking place, right? So if you want value in that game, Montreal is probably the better bet. I think the under is a pretty good play too because Montreal struggles to score. I mentioned their power play stat, and Toronto, aside from their first game in preseason, you see how they've adapted to playing more defensive and giving up a little bit less defensively. So maybe that's something too, where it's a work in progress to see this team's identity play its way out past the first game.
Mr. Gerg saying, could they not come up with a name? No, they gave it that to give them time to come up with a name because
a lot of people like the HC.
Yeah,
right?
I don't mind
the hockey club. I think it's inevitable. It's going to be the Yeti. And I don't think that it's a secret, but the fact that they didn't want to rush it, it's a smart marketing plan. You get
Yeah.
everybody into the building, you get everybody excited about it, and then boom, in year 2, you give it a name, and everybody comes back excited again.
Soakers. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the air. Way to go, JP. All right. Next game, Rangers, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, another home dog here, plus 120, over under with a lower total sitting at a flat 6. I think Pittsburgh is going to be bad. I don't know what their price is not to make the playoffs. I'm sure it's probably somewhere around even money. I don't think this is a great lineup. Let's go through the lines here. You were surprised at it too. Drew O'Connor, Sidney Crosby, Tony Beauvillier, who has been passed around team to team, has the talent, and that's why he's finding spots, but he just hasn't been able to find a home. Second line, Bunting, Gino, Ricard Raquel.
Mm-hmm.
Third line, McGroty, Lars Eller, and Jesse Puljujarvi. Kevin Hayes on the fourth line with Cody Glass and Noel Acciari. It's ugly.
Yeah,
it is ugly.
Very ugly.
And now they got to play a goalie who's just turned down 10. What was it? $10 million?
11.
Oh, he turned down 11.
11. $88 million. Imagine having 88 sheets in front of you and you saying, not good enough for me.
Not good enough. No, I can't imagine that at all. But so there were two ways I was looking at this game. Pittsburgh team total under 2.5 at plus 110 is kind of a good look. But I just thought that the Igor Shesterkin under 29 saves minus 115, that's going to be a play. It's a giant number for an offense that I just don't see generating a lot especially early in this game. This was the same number that the Rangers allowed on average last year. And now you're going to have a little more energy with the older crew. Could be a sloppy game. I don't know. There's more pass, I feel, to this under than Pittsburgh going over. Like, Pittsburgh's not going to put up 37 shots today.
Yeah, well, at least it doesn't look like they should.
No, exactly. So if they're going to go over, it's going to be like there's like 31, 32. And who knows? Maybe Pittsburgh does take the lead, and this doesn't look like an offense that's going to play with that lead and keep pushing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not sure how to feel about Pittsburgh this year. I know in talking to some people about it, they're optimistic in the sense that they believe their season went off the rails last year because their power play was really bad. And if their power play can be anywhere from 25% to 50% better than they were last year, they believe they can be a playoff team. So I need to be convinced of that because I'm not right now. I just don't see, as you just mentioned with the roster, I don't see how this roster can be competitive with other teams, not only in their division, but within their conference. So I guess it's a wait and see approach. So early on the season, like, we haven't seen crazy shot totals either, right? So, to make 29 saves, he's probably got to face 32 shots.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Adams Digest points out it was one of the only angles that I was actually looking at too. When the Fords are this bad, I tend to look at the D-men activating. So I really like Carlson and Letang's shots. It's a good point because both of those guys are projected to play PP1, which is interesting and something you don't see much anymore. Double D.
Yeah.
Double D. That's a lot of money on there. But Carlson's priced heavily into stuff like his points minus 160, minus 170. Letang plus 105 for a point, I believe, somewhere in there, and his shot on goal somewhere in the better price, I think minus 115. Let me know what that over 2.5 for Tanger is on that spot. But just thought about the under 2.5 at plus money. Gonna go saves under, which is not something we usually throw around here, but I do like that. Let's continue. Calgary, Vancouver, Vladar versus Solovs. Demko still dealing with that knee injury. Solovs also coming off a knee injury, but he got the whole preseason in. We finally get some spots where we can hit some guys here. Kuzmenko, revenge game. Didn't even factor in him, but I mean, he's top line with Kadri. Kadri's minus 200 for a point. Kuzmenko, we've said this many times. We've cashed a lot on it. He plays every shift with Kadri. It's a minus 115. I got to take it for a point here.
I like this angle because I think Calgary is going to be a team that a lot of teams overlook when they play them. thinking that they're going to get an easier matchup against them because, like I said, on paper and their expectation this year isn't very high. But I think Calgary, like even last year when they traded away all those guys, this team still found ways to score goals. And I think you'll still see that in them. Well, they probably won't win many games, but they'll stay competitive in a lot of games. And if that's the case, focus on top line players because those guys are going to be getting the most ice time. Guys that play with good players and guys that play on the power play. And Kuzmenko, I mean, if he's going to be Calgary, I don't think Calgary's going to get shut out every game. I don't think they're going to get shut out tonight, but the revenge factor has to trump all that. There's going to be big money on the board for him. Start of a new season against his former team. He's going to want to get in on the action today.
25 points, 29 games with Calgary after coming over from Vancouver last year. Adam Sanchez banging everything right there. Brock Besser contract year. Huge. I think that was the one I dropped on Andy's show saying it was, I think it's like 68. Like it was such a low number for a guy who, like what he did in the playoffs was impressive before he got injured. But lots to like there with Brock Besser. But going on the other side, I'm going to jump over one more Calgary player to get to Jake DeBrusk, who comes over minus 115 for a point. Same thing.
Yeah.
He's playing with Pettersson, second line. He's playing with the big boys on PP1. This is a Calgary team that wasn't shutting out a lot of people last year. Let's be honest. Minus 115. This is kind of he'll play the bumper, which kind of isn't the best spot on the power play, but minus 115. This is a number that I think could shorten up as well. Do you see the Vancouver Canucks doing what they did last year? Are they that good?
This is going to be one of the big questions that we get an answer to this year. I know you're laughing.
Yeah, laughing. Yeah.
I'm not a gnocchi guy, and that'll probably surprise people because I'm Italian. It's one of my least favorite dishes. I don't understand that. It's just a bunch of dough. I would choose any other pasta. But today, no bowls of bolognese pasta. But where were we here? I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, Vancouver. So Vancouver, there's an expectation that there's going to be somewhat of a regression this year because last year was just too good and it surprised everybody. And a big reason for their success last year was because Demko played like a Vezina caliber goaltender. And now there's a lot of concern over Demko and his status and his availability for this team this year. And yes, they did make improvements. They did bring in DeBrusk, to help with their offense. But I still think that they're not going to catch teams by surprise this year, which is what I think for the most part last year they did, because on paper they didn't look like the team that was as good as they were. And they took advantage of that. And kudos to them. They were a great team, a fun team to watch. But it's hard to replicate that same success year after year, especially when you're not known to be a consistent team year after year. So I hope for Vancouver's sake, I want them to be a really good team. But to say that they're going to win the division again in a division with Edmonton, in a division with I have to pull it up, the other team in the division. I'm drawing a blank. And who's in that division? Edmonton.
Don't throw me under the bus.
So Edmonton, LA, Vegas, like those teams are gonna get their crack at it again. So, but doesn't say that DeBrusk isn't a great addition to that group because that's something that they desperately needed last year. They needed secondary scoring, and I think he can help bring that on a line with Pettersson, who has to be better than he was last year.
Yes, and I think he can step forward, and I think he's minus 180 for a point playing all shifts with DeBrusk there, who's minus 115. Let's add that one. There's another one in this just because of what Calgary is and the moving pieces, and when losing teams are losing teams, they move things around a little more than winning teams, right? That's why we didn't have anything from Toronto because it's status quo going forward. But Connor Zary for a point, plus 135 is not a bad spot here. Maybe not versus a Thatcher Demko Vancouver team, but this is Arturs Silovs here. Like, yes, he stepped in and played well in the playoffs, but that's playoff hockey. It's a little different from what this guy is. He's not known as a great goalie. Let's be honest here where he is. Calgary can score. And Zary here gets to play with that line that the Flames absolutely love, and that's the Coleman Backlund line that does the dirty work, gets the shifts, and they're going to be hard to keep off the score sheet. And guess what? Zari, also on PP1, 34 points in 64 games as a rookie. Those aren't small numbers, really. Like, you go back to Matty Benier's year when he won the Calder and what he put up, that's kind of the pace where it was. So plus 135 is a good spot for top 6 minutes and PP1 in a game that Calgary could be competitive.
I'm looking at this Calgary roster, and Huberdeau making $10.5
on the third line
is on the third line.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. Yeah, sorry, bud, but at least that's admitting defeat with it, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Colorado, Vegas, pick them 6.5 total. Drouin's on the top line. We saw someone in the chat already point out the Drouin assist. Let me know what that price is. I'm sure it's somewhere around even money, but outside of that, things get real ugly in Colorado. So we have the addition of Casey Middlestat, which is there, but he's centering Kovalenko and Callum Ritchie on that second line. And Miles Wood, Ross Colton, Logan O'Connor. There's the other O'Connor. That kind of looks more like a fourth line than a middle six line, let's be honest. And one of my favorite angles here is the Colorado offense is much better at home.
You're right.
4.2 versus 3.17 on the road. We saw how dominant they were at home last year. We saw what our man was doing point per game wise in Nathan McKinnon, basically scoring and pointing in every one of his home games. Right. He's on the road now. Vegas, Aiden Hill's back. He kind of got lit up a bit in his last preseason game. Let's go. Under.
Did you see the winger on the fourth line for the Avalanche?
There's I haven't pulled up the names yet. There's one jersey that's backwards and it doesn't have a name on it.
Ivan.
Stop it.
Ivan.
That's not is it?
That's a guy's name. Yeah. Yes.
It's just Ivan squared.
Yes. Ivan. I think he's Czech. Is he Czech or is he Slovakian?
I don't know.
Well, I remember watching him at the World Juniors. That's why. And I'm like, wow, that's a weird name. Great for the parents. Thanks for you couldn't come up with more of an original name.
Thanks for
the last name, Ivan.
Yes. That's interesting, but it just shows you the depth issues within the Colorado offense. If that top line's not doing it, and I think that's why you can kind of bank on those splits a little more being realistic because they don't get last change.
So you like the under in this game?
I do. I like the under in a couple of these games, like the Winnipeg Edmonton game, 6.5, the Toronto Montreal game, 6.5. I kind of like the unders in those. But like I said, I wasn't going to go under heavy in this spot, but Colorado, Vegas, under. Was looking at Casey Middlestat, kind of laying off it just because of his line mates on that side. Ivan Barbashev is plus 130 for a point, top line with Eichel and Stone, but power play 2. Victor Olofsson, line 3. Power play 1. No point market. No point market for him. So hopefully something comes out there. But Aiden Hill, need him back to where he was. Georgiev versus him. Let's go there. Winnipeg, Edmonton. Guess who we're back on?
The under goals or player-wise?
Player-wise.
Edmonton and Winnipeg. Oh, Vilardi. Yes.
Vilardi! There he is.
Points? Yes. We're going points?
Points.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, stop. His over 2.5 shots on goal is plus 150, Carlo.
Wow. Because we rode that for what? Almost 2 weeks last year.
Yes. So the only reason I'm off it is because a lot of that was because Kyle Connor was out, right? He was placing the shot volume with Kyle Connor. But now he's playing with the big boys with Connor and Scheifele on that top line, NPP1. I like this spot, minus 105. Where do you see Winnipeg coming out this year and where they stand within the rest of the Western Conference in terms of are they a 95-point team? Can they get 100 points? Can they be better than a 7 seed? Can they be better than a 6 seed?
No.
Okay,
I think they're a playoff team because they'll get good goaltending and they'll probably have good defense again. But I mean, they play in a division with Dallas, Colorado, and Nashville. Like, do you think they're going to be better than those three teams?
You like Nashville better than Winnipeg this year?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So that leaves them somewhere in the 8th, 7th seed, probably in Winnipeg, I would assume.
Yeah, if they can squeeze their way in. I mean, you look at the Pacific, can't really see other teams than, Vancouver, Vegas, LA, Edmonton. So maybe there is that extra spot for them to do it.
All right. But as you noticed, no money line plays. No, it's high variance.
You're almost best.
Seattle was
going
up
with
2-0 yesterday, and they
Yeah.
gave up 3 straight goals at home in their opener.
Look, at this time of the year, I would not be betting a favorite. You actually get really good value on betting underdogs because
Go Buffalo.
I guess not. Look, you're not going to win all of them, but again, I wouldn't be laying heavy money on chalky lines when anything can happen in the beginning of the season, right? There is no favorites, there is no underdogs. Everyone's starting fresh, everyone's starting with a new outlook, and for that reason, I would be taking underdogs if you're taking a side in a game.
Yep. Handicapping hockey without tools can be a very long process, going in and out and seeing things. As you can see from there, and I mean, my card yesterday, it went 2-2. But if you're looking for a quick in and out, look for lines. Look for guys who play top 2 lines, top 6 forwards who play PP1, who get 17 plus minutes a game. If you can find those guys for a point at -115, -120 or better, it's probably a good bet to make,
Right.
just because of the opportunities that they get. And there's usually those guys around there. But in that same sense, don't be afraid to find some guys who might be overpriced in a spot where, let's see, who did we have to fade? Oh, I had a good fade. Dun, 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 dun. Like, Alex Kerfoot was on the 4th line yesterday. No PP time. He was -55 under 0.5 points, and that's a hat tip to Andy Francis for pointing that one out.
Andy
But
France.
but some of those, that's the spot where some of those guys look that way too. Look for guys who aren't in those spots. Find the unders because, I mean, we're laughing at Huberdeau. If he's playing 14 minutes a game playing line 3 and PP1, right? Like,
Right.
there might be spots to hit there. Who did I have? I had someone. Barbashev, no. Victor Olofsson, no. Casey Middlestat was a no. Oh, if you're looking for a fade, sorry, here's the fade. The one fade that I had. Connor Garland is on line 3 and PP2, and he's -115 to not record a point. Basically a coin flip, and those opportunities are there. But I'm a loser, and I'm going over heavy.
Well, I mean, it's early in the season. You're hoping to see you want to watch with some excitement. You don't want to watch a whole game and having a guy sneak out a point with an empty netter.
Oh God, no. But this is a spot where hopefully these guys with these points in these spots become much shorter, and hopefully they don't Dan Balsma us and take them off PP1s and don't give them like Jake Neighbors. I wanted him yesterday, but when I see 15 minutes of ice time in a game that was pretty competitive, it's tough. You need 17 and a half minutes. So Connor Zary just makes it. He was playing 17. I hope he jumps up there this year. Let's go through a quick recap. Wednesday, 30-minute show. Appreciate everybody there, but we're getting into it. Shesterkin, under 29 and a half saves, -115. Andrei Kuzmenko, seeing his former team, being about a point per game player in Calgary since he came over, -115. Jake DeBrusk in some new duds, playing with Elias Pettersson, who hopefully has a better year this year. Similar price. Connor Zary, +135. Let's go. Colorado, Vancouver, under 6.5. And then old Gabe for a point at -105. That over 2.5 shots at +150 might have to get thrown on the card too, because that is a big number for Villard, who averaged 2.5 shots last year, and we won a lot of money off. But producer Mick says, hit that like button. Anything else to add? You got any more Elliot Friedman news?
No update yet. I would stay tuned. Watch the Twitter wire between now and 11:30, and we'll probably get more updates as the morning goes along. But we're back, buddy. We're back. We're back for good. Hockey's back, and everyone's in a good mood because of it.
Appreciate it. Great day with the chat, man. I absolutely, that's my favorite part of doing this. Other
Yeah,
than
of
talking
course.
to a guy who doesn't wear an undershirt. But no, you you guys make the show. I appreciate it every day. Let's go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, live 10. NHL prop picks presented by Sports Interaction. Appreciate it, boys. Let's win some money. We got playoff baseball today. Thursday night football's around the corner. Hockey today, hockey tomorrow. And let's go. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. Back tomorrow. More NHL Puck Prop presented by Sports Interaction on Covers. 10 a.m. See you then.
Ciao.